Welcome to I Choose Happy, presented by The Comfy. I'm Marilyn Byrne. On the show today, I will talk with Marianne Banister, a former award-winning news anchor who faced a journey no parent ever expects. In this episode, she shares how that journey led her to create the Claire Marie Foundation, turning unimaginable loss into a mission of hope and protection for your families. I had the pleasure of working with and befriending Marianne when we were both working at WBAL in Baltimore. I'll never forget seeing her beautiful little daughters visiting their mom on the news set, full of life and wonder.
You knew her as a little tiny girl with a head full of blonde curls. And she and our older daughter, Hillary, are just attached to the hip, 5 years apart, but just everything they would do together. And Claire just always wanted to follow along the path of her older sister until she hit about 7th grade and discovered, hey, I can do my own thing. They were both in sports. But Claire had this very creative gene. Like Hillary was all energy. Claire would go, wait, stop, and disappear and go into her room. And I would find her taking tissue paper and wrapping it around Beanie Babies, making dresses. And just quietly sitting there. So where Hillary was all energy and what's next, Claire was more like, I'm high energy, but I need my space to myself. And she started to explore that creative side of herself more and more. And, you know, I know you've had helpers, we call them nannies, but they were like older sisters to our girls.
Mm-hmm.
And a couple of them were very creative and kind of helped fuel that with her. And she started finding her own way and getting her own identity. And so she was diagnosed with adolescent melanoma at the age of 14. And what was weird was it had nothing to do with the sun. She went through hormonal changes related to puberty. And in her body, it was the perfect storm that it connected changes with the mold that she was born with. And it started to change.
I did not know this was a thing.
Me. Because, and I'll get to her as a personal bit. I just want to kind of understand what she was going through at the same time. Because I was hyper, in the news business, I would always come home with these stories, kind of cautionary tales for the girls. But they were like, Mom, everything's not going to happen to us. And I'm like, yeah, but it could, because I've done a story on that, or I've heard about this. So you start to get a little...
You've read the research, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And so we had moved from California to Maryland, and I was like, sun is always an issue. My family was fair-skinned. So I'm like, okay, we'll wear sunscreen. We'll get screened by a dermatologist. It had been routine, never been a problem. 6 months earlier, her skin was fine. And so we knew she didn't take risks. She didn't go tanning. She couldn't drive, so I'd have to get her anywhere she needed to be. So there was no way of sneaking that by. So I when we heard this, we were just dumbstruck by it, because as overinformed as we were, we just thought, wait, if we don't know about this and we're taking precautions and it still happened, and Claire was wearing all the sunscreen in the world and it still happened, who else is this happening to? And as we started exploring, we started realizing young people going through puberty, testosterone, estrogen, obviously it affects boys and girls, women going through pregnancy. It can affect...
I was going to ask you, is this like kind of the same thing?
Yes,
with breast cancer patients who get triggered by pregnancy?
Right. There is a young woman on our podcast that we do, and we've done features on her, a young woman mom. She's a kid to me still. But
yeah, right. I get it.
She developed it twice, going through 2 pregnancies. It almost took her life both times. Thankfully, she's passed it with great research and medical treatment. But it can be triggered by that. And so anyway, with that happening, it was this very strange thing, like who would expect this to go on? And Claire was at that point coming through in her own. Hillary had kind of gone off to college, and she was the D1 athlete, and Claire was the athlete, but she was the social athlete, as I like to call it, when she was little. Hillary was taking no hostages on the field, picking daisies. We're like, Claire, the ball's in front of you. Go. Just more, but look at the flower, So she had progressed to being a solid athlete. It's not like she was bad. but she just didn't have that drive that her sister did. She was more into the socializing and, just soaking up everything around her, and
Lots of friends.
oh my gosh, the girl, they were coming and going at our house, which I just loved. With both the
Yeah.
girls, it was that way, and then with Hillary gone, it was Claire, and she was into interior design, and she was into fashion design, and all the girls would come to the house to get dressed together, and she would be pulling belts out and nail polish out and helping whoever didn't feel like they had something to wear.
Wow.
They were invited over to our house, and she was one just to embrace everyone. And what was most notable when she was diagnosed at 14, we were trying to be very proactive and say, "Oh, you should go and share this with your friends, and you'll get support." Right? You open up. Well, that's an adult mindset. What she realized, and I let her make the choice,
Hmm.
but she thought, "I don't want to be that kid because I'll become the point of gossip." And
Mm.
like, "Oh, that's Claire. Did you hear she has cancer? Oh, she has melanoma. Oh, look at her. Look at that scar on her leg." That's what she didn't
Oh.
want to be the point of any discussion
Mm.
except what she had earned.
Yeah.
If she was good, it was for her. If she
And
was,
it's such a personal choice.
it's a very, very personal choice. And to note, there are a lot of young people who do seek out that support system
Yeah.
and thrive on it.
Yeah.
For her, she just wanted to be Claire.
Hmm.
My job was to tell her when I needed to pick her up to go do whatever blood test or drug treatment. And with
Right.
melanoma, you can hide it more because it's immunotherapy. So you're not
Okay.
losing your hair. You're not, we thought we beat it twice and
Mm.
it recurred. And it wasn't,
Did you notice so when the
Mhm.
first time this happened,
Yeah.
so she's going through puberty,
Mhm.
there's a mole on her leg that you
Her,
had
yes.
noticed changing. Was
Right.
that was your first hint or
Right.
clue? Okay.
Because she had mentioned about 3 months after she'd been screened by a derm. And she goes, "It's getting bigger." And we happened to have a meeting with her pediatrician just to get a little more in the weeds on this.
Mhm.
It was tied to hypothyroid in her condition.
Okay.
Hypothyroid can develop very commonly in puberty.
Got it.
And if you have a mole that has a receptor to TSH hormone, which is what you have too much of if you're hypothyroid,
Okay.
if you have a receptor, meaning it sucks it in layman's terms, it can take that and create melanocytes in the mole.
Mm. Okay.
And so we didn't realize that was her case. So her pediatrician was watching her because she was pre-hypothyroid, not knowing there was any correlation. We see the change. I call him and I'm like, I just saw the dermatologist, she's wanting me to call and ask. And he said, "Well, she's growing. Of course it's going to get a little bigger." She was just
That
seeing.
makes sense. Yeah.
Because a
Yeah.
mole cannot, well, now I know in young people what I didn't know. Moles change very quickly and aggressively in young people.
Hmm.
So when an adult, you would get an annual screening. 2 months later, if a mole looks different, you're going to go like, "Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
Hallucinating," right? So everybody's going by that standard.
And that has to do with probably a faster growth rate at that
Right.
age.
Because
Yeah.
think about it, young people, their cells are growing and dividing and things are happening and hormones are raging. And that's what makes them wonderful young people.
Mhm.
But if you happen to get the perfect storm of genetics, hormonal changes, and then UV sun exposure to it. Now, mind you, it was on her ankle under her sock, but a sock is not UPF 50, so it doesn't block sun coming in,
Mm.
right? She was
Okay.
playing lacrosse, but she still, I'm sure, got some exposure. But when we saw the change, it started to look kind of dusty on the top. It didn't look black. The borders weren't irregular. It's nothing we're conditioned to understand.
Mhm.
And so when we went in for her checkup a couple months later, just for her routine health exam in June, he just said, "You know what? Let's just take it off. I'll just set her up with a plastic surgeon in the building who will take peds patients, and we'll take it off," because it was right on the bone of the
Mm.
skin of the ankle where that skin's very thin.
Yeah.
So it's not like where it's on your arm where a dermatologist or somebody could
Mm.
biopsy it more readily.
I bet it was a little painful too for her.
It was a
Yeah.
problem. Yeah. Oh no. It ended up being a skin graft circumstance that we had,
Mm.
but
Mm.
she told people a shark bit her. That was her.
There's
Um,
that imagination.
yeah, yeah. It was
That's
like
good.
then people would be laughing and
Mm.
looking at her, going, "Okay," and they'd walk away, and she goes, "Zip, dodge
Okay.
that one." I mean, humor. But So the plastic surgeon then blew us off. Well, his front desk. Oh no, kids don't get it. You're a helicopter
Mm,
mom. Retrospectively, and I always tell parents this, if you have a problem and you're trying to get to a plastic surgeon for your kid, tell them you want a Botox appointment. They'll get you in 2 weeks. I should have just said, brought her with me and said, guess what? I lied. Now look at her ankle and take it off. But given that time, we were following what is the medical protocol.
right.
Get her in 3 months. Well, it kept growing, getting thicker, thicker, thicker.
Mm,
We were every time we'd call, "Oh, it's gotta be a spitz nevi," which, is ugly, but it's not gonna kill you. It's rubbing up against her cleats. She's playing lacrosse all summer. It's just an irritant. We're getting her in at the end of August, and this was from June I had tried, and then there
uh,
were weather issues that canceled offices and things happened, and then it ended up being another week or 2, and then we waited a month for the biopsy.
how was the worry for you at this point?
Whole time. Well, then what we found in the meantime was she had become fully, hypothyroid. So they were looking at her, and what was odd was when you're hypothyroid, you have no energy and you're gaining weight. She's
Yeah.
running all around lacrosse. She was not symptomatic, but her
Hmm.
blood work up. So now our focus is more like, okay, we're on the wait list to get that thing taken off, which is probably nothing.
Yeah.
But now we're worried about her thyroid condition and what's going on there. And so that whole summer was a summer of worry. Then we started getting ugly and nasty. And I finally was like, I'm done. I'm done. You're seeing her now. Enough of this. And I fought my way in. And then it took them a month for the biopsy because the pathologists were not educated to know that in young people, melanoma looks different, presents
Hmm.
different, is more aggressive. And the
Wow.
Hopkins pathologist, they sent it elsewhere because they kept saying, yeah, but she's 14, but it's melanoma, but it looks different, but it's melanoma. And so again, we're going a month thinking we're fine. So we had started trying to get this off in June. And of course, the first Friday in October at 10 till 5 on a Friday, I get a call saying your daughter has melanoma.
Mm,
And I'm like, and I've got 5 minutes to call somebody. What do I do? And it was a fight then because melanoma is seen by breast cancer specialists. As you know,
mhm.
October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. We're having to get her into an adult facility to see it, to remove it, to treat it, to do the surgical thing, to look if it's gone into the lymph nodes, to look at the sentinel node.
Ugh.
Ultimately, she had to have it was a stage 3 then, they decided. We had to go on and have 26 lymph nodes taken out, in her upper leg in the bikini line, and
Mm,
the good news was, whoop, there's no melanoma there, we got it. Melanoma is the deadly beast because it goes inward and then spreads to the organs.
right.
And young
Once it
people
hits the bloodstream, right?
right, and
Okay.
the lymph nodes. It goes through bloodstream and lymph nodes. And
Okay.
young people only get melanoma. They don't get squamous cell or basal cell. So,
Interesting.
again, stuff that people don't talk about and why
Mhm.
kids should be on high alert, to screening and getting it in first. So, knowing that with the thickness and that it was barely there, that was staged a 3A, meaning it's just there's barely some sense that possibly it could have gone on. When they went on and found it hadn't gone on to, the lymph nodes in her leg, then that was like, "Okay, we're doing immunotherapy for 14 months. I'm sure we got it, keeping a close watch on it."
Mm,
And then it came back in her iliac node. It had a recurrence,
mm.
and then ultimately, and again, because she was 16 and not 18, the drugs that we're all so used to now, Opdivo, all were, routine now, then they were trials.
Okay. So
Because
they weren't FDA approved for children.
right, so when you're a 16-year-old, you're pretty close to being an 18-year-old
Yeah.
physically,
Yeah.
but they won't let you in there.
Okay.
So finally,
And she's getting the best care.
oh,
You're
we're at Hopkins, and our doctor, William Scharfman, is world renowned.
mm,
And we would go in he's brilliant, and I know he would laugh at me saying this, so I don't mind saying we would go in to go see him, and he would come in and he'd look at this and he'd look at that and he'd look at how she was doing and he'd go, "I don't know. I don't know. I just don't," and he'd disappear. And Claire would like, "What does he not know, mom?" And I was like, "He's calling everybody he knows," and he would be.
yeah.
He'd
Yeah.
be talking to all of the experts around the world that were in this pod. Claire was discussed and studied and analyzed, and she was a point the month she was diagnosed, she was one of 3 girls in the same age group that had melanoma stage 3, all 13 to 14 years old, all in the lower extremities. So he told
Huh.
me, "Don't let him tell you it's rare, because in this age group, it's not." If you look
Okay.
at birth to death, the number melanoma cases majority are Anglo men over 50 who spend a lot of time in the sun and don't do some
Golfing or yeah.
themselves, right?
Yeah.
Guys just don't go do that. Um, but if you look at childhood cancers, because cancer doesn't strike children as often, but if you look at that, it's the number 2 cancer in adolescents, the number 1 in young adults,
Oh.
number 1 cause of cancer death in young women 25 to 30. Now, that's a whole other read. And girls get in their lower extremities, boys tend to get it in their torso. Like, there's just
Huh.
now they're finally starting to look at the reasoning that it's not pediatric cancer, because a child can be born with it.
Yeah.
Really rare.
Yeah.
A 2-year-old can get it. But those numbers watered down if you look at a pediatric from birth to 21, where they go, "Oh, it's rare." No, it's not.
No.
Let's bring those numbers in. Let's make it applicable and look at the real reason that they get melanoma and not other skin
Hmm.
cancers. Why is it so aggressive? Let's look at and they're finally, what I'm so proud of in the 11 years we've done this is we've helped create that new narrative, because I've been that crazy mom going, "Oh, no, 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 no. Do not make the mistake of sitting down next to me and asking what happened, because, pal, you're not getting up for a while and you're gonna
Yeah.
get an earful." And
Yeah.
you
You're
not.
gonna learn something. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and the whole thing was, like, the connection with, hypothyroid. I was
Mhm.
sitting there, and I'm sure you've been there, like, that research, that journalist in us comes out, and
Mhm.
I'm sitting there after she was diagnosed going, "Pardon the French, but what the hell?" Right?
Yeah.
Like, we
Yeah.
did everything right, and I'm just, like, on the digging, and knowing I used to do medical reports in LA, so I knew how to read the real stuff from the fake stuff from the right?
Yep.
Found this study out of MD Anderson that found hypothyroid linked to melanoma, and it was done in 2008.
Mhm.
So I get the researcher. I can't get a hold of her, but our doctors get a hold of her, tell her about Claire's circumstance. They send the mole of origin to her, and she's the one that said, "Oh, she has a very high receptor to TSH in this mole." And
Wow.
that's what caused it, because it happened in adolescence. It's an adolescent melanoma case. And we would find every 3 months, we'd do her blood workup just to see it. Well, it coincided with, she'd do a screen check every 3 months and see where her TSH levels were, because we kept those as low as possible to not feed melanoma
Mhm.
cells,
Mhm.
and every time her TSH levels started popping up, another mole would need to be removed. It was
Mm.
typical. And that's the
Hmm.
people go for a screening. If we're of a certain age, as we are, if
Mhm.
you're going for a colon screening, people will say, "Oh, they found a polyp. Dodge that bullet. Good for me." Well, if you go in for a skin screening as a child, as an adult, as anybody, if they find a mole that's atypical, they nipped it in the bud in the same way. It wasn't a waste of a screening. Just because it wasn't
Yeah.
fully a melanoma yet doesn't mean it wasn't on its way to getting there.
Yes.
Well, if a mole is atypical, something weird is going on, and you do not wanna sit there and wait for it to change. So,
Mhm.
best to just, as they say, "When in doubt, take it out." Right?
I think it's so interesting how a couple things, your background in journalism really helped lead you to MD Anderson
Yep.
and this woman.
Yeah.
And then secondly, you're going down these, you could say rabbit holes, but
Yeah.
you having the discernment of, okay, this sounds right. This sounds,
Mhm.
and having that instinct too about your own daughter and what you're
Yeah.
seeing, and you're living that life. I think it's so hard. I know as a patient,
Oh.
I was diagnosed with breast cancer in 2010. My kids were 7 and 4. You're doing your best to figure things out for yourself,
Mhm.
all the while thinking, thank God this isn't one of my children
Yeah.
having to do this. How was it? How did you stay so focused? I'm sure you were on a mission. I know you were. But to be mom, to be also researcher, we're
Mhm.
going to get to the bottom of this. We're not going to wait. We're going to be, that kind of effort and tenacity and not giving up. And, what were you going through at that time? What was going through your mind? Were you just feeling like you were just racing the clock the whole time?
Sadly, I've had a lot of cancer in my family,
Mm,
beginning with my dad in the '70s and my older sister. Um, I've since lost them both to cancer, but
mm,
I knew it's that lily pad mindset of you just find what you know and then you move on.
yeah.
Don't borrow trouble, as my grandmother would say, right? And I always am like going, okay, you're not giving me what I need to know. Move over. Who else do I need to talk to? I think the gift for me was that journalistic instinct that this was my ultimate story.
Mm,
I had to dig down. They tell me what they want to tell me. They don't tell me what they don't want to tell me.
mhm,
And I was like, you got to tell me everything. And I found, and I do share this with a lot of parents, when you're dealing with cancer and pediatrics, number one, two things is first off, when your child is diagnosed, the oncologist takes over their care. The pediatrician isn't really their doctor anymore. Well, in
mm,
this case, Dr. Scharfman saw a lot of patients with this, but he still dealt with more adults than kids. And there were
okay.
times that I needed our pediatrician's perspective on it.
Yeah,
And Dr. Scharfman was open to Dr. Fregetta, who was just he's since passed, but he's such a dear friend and a wonderful man, and just one of those really wonderful, caring pediatricians. And he would call me and go, "Oh, I can work. I'll give him a book. I'll know it." So it was a team effort. A team
nice.
for anyone is important because so many medical doctors and, the physical therapist, the oncologist,
Mhm.
the OB,
Radiologist, yeah.
they got blinders on, right?
Mhm.
Right. It's like, no, you gotta all talk. You
Yeah,
gotta know what's going on. We had a
yeah.
therapist for Claire, because again, we were going through she's trying to learn with these drugs that she's taking that's
Mhm.
affecting her learning, but there's no documentation on how it's affecting her learning.
Mm.
We
So
realized
she's a trailblazer, this
she
kid.
really was. Like, we realized, like, it affected her short-term memory, like in algebra. She couldn't recall the formula to start working the problem, but if she
Mm,
had note cards with options of formulas in front of her, she could pick the right one and do it.
okay.
But we had to jump through these hoops to prove that to get the learning support. Yeah,
Yeah,
Dr. Scharfman saw her as somebody who really was doing great and keeping her very vibrant life going.
okay.
And he asked her to mentor other young people who came through if they chose to involve her. But aside from what I share with parents with the team aspect, the other thing is you've got to check your emotions at the door. And that's easier for me to do. Now, as the patient, it probably wasn't the same for you because I know, like I always tell people, take someone with you to take notes. It's
Yeah.
overwhelming. I saw that with my family members. Um, it's exhausting. Your brain is being affected by the drugs, but I could go into that news gene and pull that out
Mhm.
where I could compartmentalize. And for anybody that's watching news, trust me, I've covered live news of fires and earthquakes and wonder how my kids are at home. And when we go to a commercial break, I pick up the phone and I'm calling my husband going, Is everybody good? What's
Yeah,
happened? Where are
yeah.
you at? Okay, good. All right, done. Right. So you have to compartmentalize.
Mhm.
And I could calm myself, have my notebook, and I would just ask very pointed questions. And I had a couple doctors going, How do you do this? I said, I'm doing this so you'll talk to me.
Yeah,
Because if I lose it and I'm an emotional wreck, that trust me, I go home and I get in bed and I don't get out of bed.
yeah.
They can't talk to me. They can't get away from me fast enough. So it's really important if, as I think, as the patient, you have somebody who can be the Teflon person who can focus and ask the intense questions and and challenge them and the what if. And if I saw something that was a new treatment, I would call Dr. Scharfman and he would say, well, we can look into that. Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, I would just plant the seed in his brain.
Well,
But
and this is
legitimate things. They weren't like,
yeah, of course. You're not gonna waste his yeah, you're not wasting his time. But I just find that it's so remarkable that it's like advocating for your kid next level. It's
oh,
we're all
absolutely.
we're doing, we always talk about how I remember at one point when I was very, very ill in the hospital
Mhm.
with a deadly blood clot, clots to the lungs. And all I kept thinking about was, as a mother, we do everything we can to not even have our kids skin their knee.
Right, right.
You're running after your toddler. Of course, they have to fall down and learn, and but you're doing your whole life as a mother is rooted in protection, I think, in a
Oh,
lot
yeah.
of ways, and love and nurturing. And but I remember thinking, if something really happens to me here, if I don't make it,
Yeah.
I'm going to really crush these kids. I'm going to hurt them. And I think that juxtaposition constantly coming from a place of wanting to protect, nurture,
Mhm.
teach, and as a mom, watching her daughter, maybe running out of lily pads, as you put
You know
it.
what? And again, from the beginning, we and there was very little known about this, so let's just be again
Yeah.
now I'd be so much more educated and probably more wary and more frightened.
Okay.
At the beginning, the biggest thing was we thought she was gonna get through it. I mean, everybody involved thought they
You
should have
got it.
got it earlier
Yeah.
'cause it would have
But you
been
nipped it in time.
treatable.
Yeah.
But even with that, we think you're gonna be okay. I remember the worst moment I had was right, before Thanksgiving. We had to do the surgery to take out, the lymph nodes, right? And there was one little mark on one of the lymph nodes. And of course, they have to run the tests on it. It's a Thanksgiving holiday. So I have her at home, leg up.
Mm.
My in-laws are visiting. And of course, I'm mothering my older daughter, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
She's coming home from college and worried about her sister and starting her first year, so I'm like trying to be there. Their dad is working his butt off because he's got to keep the insurance going,
Hmm.
while I'm
Hmm.
the one at home, you know, doing all this. And I remember taking a walk just to clear my head. And the thought hit my mind of like, if this is what, and this surgeon looked at me with like preparation in her eyes that this could very well have been a melanoma, like then you're got stage 4. Like that's where we would have been at right away. And I'm sitting here waiting. And I remember taking this walk in the evening and thinking, just the rational brain going, well, you have to go with your kids. Like she's too little. She's 14. Like if she goes, where how do I take care of her from here? How do just like my brain started going, not that I was gonna hurt myself, but it seemed irrational, like, how I gotta figure a way to like, how can this be? Like, you just
Mm.
go down where you're just and I think it's that fear like you were talking about for your kids.
Yeah.
How can I have the worst moment with Claire was just to step back a moment, you have to understand Claire didn't fake anything. She was so authentic. Um, and she was joyful, and that's where her friends saw, which when we finally it was revealed right before she passed, and we had to do radiation, so she lost her beautiful gold curls and
Mm.
everybody could see what was going on. People had no idea. And she just would make jokes with the nurses and, make jokes with the doctors and just, keep herself going. And doing her art and doing her everything. And there was when that first again, we see the surgeon, and, she wanted just to go with me because that made it more normal. If dad and mom both come, that makes it a big deal, you know? Like,
Hmm.
mom takes my doctor's appointments, dad comes, I don't wanna So I'm sitting there,
Yeah.
and I get her in the car, and she just sat there and just held my hand and screamed at the top of her voice for probably 10 minutes,
Mm.
you know? And it just, kind of, cried and screamed and just squeezed my hand, and I just let her go, of course, and then she got this kinda, like, side smile on her face, and I said, "Are you good?" And she goes, "For now,"
Yeah.
and she just held my hand as I drove
Oh, what a moment.
and we had a therapist very early on, and for anybody with children, teenagers are very hard because you still are parenting them. You're still responsible for the
Mhm.
decisions in their lives, but they have to have some sense of autonomy.
Sure.
And Claire decided we let her guide us. You don't wanna tell your friends? We're not telling your friends. It's your story to tell. And she had a rule, like, at one point, a couple of the moms would ask 'cause they thought she created eating disorder, because of course, she was losing weight.
Mm,
And I was like, "Mrs. So and so asked me," and she goes, "Okay, you can tell them because, we know
yeah,
them well enough, right?"
yeah,
Like, "Okay." And, she would see her therapist, and it was great because she could just complain about me, she could complain about her friends, she
right.
just whatever. And it
Yeah,
was not
because she's a teenager too. I mean, she's got other
well, as
things
I
going on in
so,
her life.
let me tell you, this child
Yeah.
and this is just to give you an idea of Claire, a little sassy thing that she was. So, you parent your kids differently depending on what they're going through.
Yeah,
Our older daughter, Hillary, was on that D1 track and afraid to get busted and lose a D1 scholarship, and she's gonna be there up straight, right, right, right. Well, we had a
yeah.
house with a walk
Firstborn. Yeah.
in. Yes, right?
Yeah.
She was petrified of getting in trouble all the time. And so Claire, she would have these surgeries. For her benefit, it worked out well to be during holiday, Christmas break, or summer. So you
Mhm.
can kind of disappear and everybody's got their own thing, right?
Yeah.
But then she kind of disappeared from the social scene for a while. And she goes, Mom, people are starting to talk like, can I have 5 girls over? And I'm like, well, well, and then these are the list of who I'm going to, and I'm like, okay, well, of course, again, she would have graduated high school in 2015. So the texting and the all that just was starting up then.
Yeah.
We would be in the front of the house, be in the back of the house. There'd be kids coming in, word would get out.
Mm.
And at one point, I was sitting in the front and I hear voices in the back. And I go walk around and here's Claire face deep into the mid shirt button of some Towson University college student who wandered in, telling him in language. I have to say, I didn't know she knew it, but I was kind of like, you go for it, girl. And she was telling him, you get out. You're not, so she was very much, she had that normal teenage experience.
Yeah.
Push
Yeah.
that envelope.
Yeah.
She tried to handle it. She couldn't. She learned her boundaries there. She got grounded. She redeemed herself. Get grounded again. I
Yeah.
mean, but looking back, I love that because she
It was
wasn't
normal. They
being
were normal moments.
she was not perfection. She was a
Yeah.
real girl.
Yeah. Well,
And she just, it was just such I look at it and trust me, I like, again, I can hold it together here with you, and I will probably lose it later,
yeah.
um, because I've had a very connected day with her today, probably because we were gonna be doing this,
Mhm.
and I feel her with me, and I know she's with me, and I know she's helping to do good work through this foundation, which, saved my sanity
Mm.
because I lost my job, as I said, at the station just before she was diagnosed, and it was like, my whole world blew up, and retrospectively, okay, I was hands-on available to take
Yeah.
care as
You
she
had some bigger work to do.
Yes,
Yeah.
but at the same time, that sense of purpose and value and everything,
Mhm.
and, I needed to make some sense out of all this because it didn't make sense. It
No.
still really
It
never
still
made
probably doesn't. Yeah. You're
never
still
will.
probably
Your
going,
situation,
"Yeah. Did
how
that
could
really
that
happen?"
ever made
Yes.
sense?
No.
Marilyn, come on.
No. No,
No.
it doesn't. And I find myself saying that even now, almost 15 years later, that
Yeah.
that really happened. And it takes a long time to come to terms. Now, I know for you, so she was diagnosed at the age of
14
14. When
past at
did
17.
At 17. So the 3 years,
Yeah.
did things towards the end, did that go more rapidly? Did you feel like you were just kind of
We I had more preparatory loss in my head
mm,
than I think my husband and our daughter. Um, I think, we went through it in different ways. Claire, was that spring of her junior year,
mhm,
um, doing great. The
mm,
treatment was working fantastic, working
wow,
fantastic. And they actually opened up 2 trials that Dr. Scharfman got her on for both of them. So she was going to go to Spain and with her class, and we were gonna
nice.
be looking for schools, her dad and I had a busy summer with her, and we were looking at schools, and we were doing all this stuff, and we had, a lot planned and ready to roll, And then all of a sudden she got headaches during exam time. Well, it's junior year, of course you're stressed, right?
Mhm.
And I called Dr. Sharfman and he said, "Yeah, bring her in." And that's where it went south. They found the, melanoma had gone to the brain as leptomeningeal disease, which is when it's in tiny cells floating around the brain.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, thank you. And that, we knew backing up 6 months prior to that, it was a stage 4,
Mhm.
but people do survive for some time with stage 4,
Right.
and this drug therapy was working well, so we thought, "Okay." And then
You
she
have
took
time.
pills,
Yeah.
"Okay, those are the lily pads, we still got some pads we're hopping on here."
Yeah.
And then, um, ultimately, we had to do whole brain radiation and chemo, and she lost mobility in her legs, and she started to lose her eyesight, and we got one of these big machines to help her see, and she still wanted to go to school. In the fall was her senior year, and she was supposed to be in charge of one of the 2 people putting together this what they do a green fashion show where they take recyclable materials and make clothes.
Mhm.
It was one of her big things at school. Um, and I remember she wanted to go to school first day, and the school was so generous and supportive, I had to be there with her,
Mhm.
and in case she fell. And just to watch people see her because her whole face had changed and everything had changed. She had a wig at that point, which wigs never look as good.
Right.
Um, and she tried, and her friends took her to the junior or the fall dance. And this boy that they kind of grew up as like neighborhood siblings was
Mhm.
in the boys' school. And Connor took her to the dance with her friends.
Beautiful.
I remember, and this just shows again who she was. So she walked in the front door and she couldn't lift her feet very well. And I'm sitting there. I have to be at the dance watching her.
Mhm.
Sure. She kind of tripped over the door coming in. And I saw it. And I was like, she caught herself. Okay. And
Mm.
we get home and I was like, well, how was it? And she goes, well, as I walked in, I tripped. I didn't say I saw it. And she goes, this kid goes, whoa there, girl. Were you pre-partying? And she just laughed. And I said, "Claire, come on, that's not you." And she goes, "Mom, I'd rather they think that than I was." And I'm like, "Honey, anybody that looks at you can see you're sick, but I'm not
Uh,
gonna say that because that was in her head
yeah.
how
She wanted that normalcy.
she just wanted to be normal for as
Yeah.
long as she could."
Yeah.
And we thought and we hoped,
Mm.
and this I always remember about a month. So, Keytruda w
Mhm.
was approved over the summer. That was one of the trials she couldn't get on. She was one of the first people to get it for melanoma, probably
Mm.
in the country,
Wow.
and they didn't know if it would do the blood-brain barrier, if it would work. And then Dr. Sharfman teamed it with Yervoy, which is now very common to do. And so here we thought, we're at the end of our line here. Let's just make it as easy for her as possible. And I remember she passed October 15th. And, well, the morning of the 16th, but the 15th is the day from hell for me. But, he, called me in September, early in September. It's like 11 o'clock at night. He's like, "Why is Dr. Sharfman calling me?" And this is a man who's a man of science, has seen it all. And he was like, "This is miraculous. What I'm seeing is miraculous." And I'm like, "What?" And he goes, when you have leptomeningeal disease, and keep in mind Valerie Harper had that, and she was
Mhm.
Dancing in the Stars with it, like, so you
Mhm.
very
Mhm.
active with it, it can happen. It will go dormant, meaning the cells become inactive. It's not going dormant, they're going away.
Wow.
Maybe this will work. Maybe this is
Oh, so much hope. Yeah.
well, except then I'm looking at her, it's like, will work to save her? But it's like Hiroshima afterwards, like, what Claire isn't Claire right now. Will she get
Mhm.
her vision back? Will she get her mobility back? Will
Mm.
she be able to recover in other ways physically from
Yeah.
this?
Yeah.
And then so we had hope at the end. And so, what happened was the morning, that we knew it was the end, she was supposed to go in because her sight was still out, and so they were gonna tap her spinal, um, area to see if they could take some drainage for the optic nerve. Like, we
Mm.
didn't know if it was the steroids taking her
To kind
vision.
of reduce the inflammation?
Right. If it was
Okay.
the steroids, if it was fluid, if it was what, but she couldn't see, but we couldn't see why.
Mm.
So, um, her dad's with her, and she'd had a little bit of a low-grade fever the night before, and he's
Hmm.
laying on the couch with her downstairs because we couldn't get her up the stairs. And, he, is getting ready to go to work, and they just said, well, her friends had visited. She has a low grade. I mean, like, we're talking 99, 100, nothing.
Yeah.
It's no big deal. I go to take her temperature, and her jaw was locked. And they said, I called Dr. Sharfman, and he goes, I'm calling hospice. And I'm like, how does it go from miraculous to hospice?
Mm.
Like, what? And then it was a matter of getting Hillary home from school in Arizona. And at the same time, they're saying young people can go on for weeks and weeks. And Hill got home at 11, and she passed at 1:20 that morning.
Mm.
And it was the worst day. And we went from thinking, okay, let's see if she can see today, to not realizing
This was
that
it.
we were at the end of it. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, Marianne.
Yeah. So,
But you have taken her spirit and run with that can-do
yeah.
attitude she had, that sassy girl fire that was in her, and
Well
you have taken that and created a foundation in her name.
well, and I wanna make sure it's our whole family. It's my husband, it's my
Yes.
daughter, it's,
Her
uh,
friends, it's
friends,
yeah,
the support community, grandparents,
doctors.
doctors,
Yeah.
everybody. It's not one person that
Mhm.
does this,
Yeah.
and, I'm at the helm of it because that's how I deal with it.
Tell
Um
us about it. What do you do? What's tell us the name of it and
Oh, I haven't done that, have I?
yes, yes. Let's I want
Gonna
you
be
to
important.
unveil that for everybody.
Claire Marie Foundation, and I
Mm.
laugh because she would only be Claire Marie if she was in trouble. Claire
Okay.
Marie, but, uh, but it's how we could get it named. Coral was her favorite color, and she
Mm.
would always, as an artist, say, "Mom, it's not pink, it's not orange, it's not peach, it's coral." It's a whole different vibe, right?
Yeah.
And it makes everybody happy. And it just all came together so quickly that we knew we wanted to do something when she passed so quickly.
Yeah.
And then, we just kind of set up like a community foundation to collect funds and then figure it out. And
Mhm.
then that was October. The following February, all these kids and Baltimore has this terrific, huge private school system, but
Mhm.
heavy into philanthropy.
Mhm.
And these kids all came together in the senior class, and they created this dance-a-thon. And Connor, the kid that took her to the
Yeah.
dances, "Hey, Mrs. Wagonhurst, what can we, do you have a logo?" And I'm like, "Do I have a logo? I'll get a logo. Why?" And it's like, "'Cause we wanna do this." So a friend of mine in Denver who did it got a logo together for us. And they did this dance-a-thon and raised a ton of money for us, and all the kids were celebrating her, and it was
Oh.
like the graduation, like, they all got together again just to celebrate.
Mm.
It's a hard hit, like any young person that passes, it affects their friends so deeply.
Yeah.
Them a chance to remember in a positive way, and we thought, "Well, that's a great start." And then we started realizing our whole point was to raise awareness of all that we didn't know going into this, as I
Mhm.
said. The
Mhm.
fact that if she would have gotten screened right away, we'd still have her here. So
Yeah.
we created a free skin screening program, which we ran for 8 years, and we screened over 1,500 young people. 16% were found to have atypical moles, biopsies needed.
I
We
just got goosebumps.
Yeah, we found early stage melanomas on kids, and we kinda did such a good job, we put ourselves out of business because those people all found their ways into dermatologists by going through them, and they could get their own appointments.
Wow. And that
And
just starts a cycle for everybody else for
started a cycle,
self-care.
let's start the conversation, and then all of her friends went off to college and said,
Yeah.
"We wanna do something here." So we had all these college ambassadors on 42 campuses and doing all of that, and then we've had,
Wow.
a guest lectureship at Johns Hopkins up until COVID, that kinda killed it because
Okay.
they would
Yeah.
teach future derms and future pediatricians that, hey, this is a different creature in this age group. And now we're podcasting everything because you got to reach more people. And we just, we did we did an ongoing sports project with USA Lacrosse because people don't realize athletes are at special risk
Mm,
because of all the time in the sun,
mhm,
their lack of wearing sunscreen. They don't, coaches. Hillary, goes to play lacrosse and she's like, Mom, they check me for everything else, but nobody requires a skin check.
mm,
And I'm like, they should. And they should be giving you guys sunscreen right before you go.
yeah,
Why can't we get this team gear in UPF 50 clothing that blocks 98% of the rays instead of letting you bake on turf, for God's sakes,
great
right?
idea.
Like,
Yeah.
there's ways to do that. So we tried to start that conversation
Hmm.
partnering with USA Lacrosse. So we've done a lot of good work, and I'm super proud of it. And I get to talk about Claire, and I get to wear a lot of coral, and celebrate her. And
It really seems, Marianne, that her journey changed things,
yeah,
brought about an awareness, even to the docs at Hopkins. You think about,
yeah, it has. It
yeah,
has.
what would you say to anyone listening today? What do you want them to take away from Claire's story?
What? Listen to your gut. Listen to your gut. I mean, look, I know intellectually I did all I could. I know that intellectually. But in my gut, like I said, I wish I would have called and just said, "Oh, I'm getting a Botox appointment." Now I
Mm,
know that would get me in the door.
hmm,
Um, I didn't know that then, so I can't blame myself.
yeah.
But when, like, for instance, there's a young woman we featured on our podcast, Aaliyah Vanderberg. Sweet, most respectful child you'd ever meet from Orange County, California. 17, has a mole right on her eyebrow, and
Hmm,
she's a senior. And she's like, "Mom, I don't like it. It's changed. I've had it since birth. I don't change." They go into the derm, won't even look at her with a scope, which you need to have. A dermatologist should always use a scope. Just like, "You're fine. You're fine. Kids don't get it," blowing her off. And she goes, "No, I want it off." Listen to her gut. I want it off. Had to argue with this doctor. The doctor, takes it off. It's a stage 1 melanoma. She goes back to say, "Oh, okay. All right. We're not mad at you, but let's do a full screening. I'm not going to check every mole on your body. Are you kidding me? Why would you think you'd have it?" And I'm like, "Okay, run for your life. Find a dermatologist who."
yeah, that cares.
Yeah. But
Wow.
but the point was, if she had acquiesced to this doctor, because we see them with the diplomas and we're sitting there in the paper gown
Hmm.
and they must know what they're talking about. Challenge them, listen to your gut. If you don't like what they're giving you an answer, go somewhere else.
Mm,
And just always the biggest thing is with young kids, wear sunscreen, absolutely, but that's not the cure all. No, there's other factors that you don't know if you have the genetic makeup until it happens.
right.
Don't know if your kid's gonna have the hormonal reaction until it happens.
Yeah.
So get your kid screened once a year with a dermatologist that gets it and does it full body head to toe. I mean, it can pop up where the sun don't shine.
Yeah.
It can be colorless.
Yeah.
Can be in the hair and in the nails and on the feet and all
Well,
sorts of places.
the education today, learning about this hormonal
Yeah.
shift
Mhm.
through puberty,
Mhm.
I was not aware of that.
And I
And
know.
I feel a little embarrassed that I,
No, you shouldn't, but that's what we're doing, and that's why. See, the problem is we're so conditioned, it's just sun, 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 sun,
hmm,
that breaking through that conversation, your
yeah.
brain resets to what it knows. "Oh, it's
Hmm.
jizz." I'm not negating the sun's impact. The UV, just here, so from the time we were kids, diagnosis 13 to 29-year-olds, and this is all according to the Skin Cancer Foundation, that's where all our stats come from. Diagnosis is up 253% in the last 40 years.
Wow.
So, there's something going on with bodies in the
Hmm.
well, the
Because
UV
I
is
would
more
think that
intense. Yeah,
I would, and I think more people are wearing sunscreen. Is
and
that,
they should be. I
yeah,
mean, you should wear sunscreen on an airplane. Who knows
mm,
that? Because you're at high altitude and it's coming in through the cabin.
radiation.
Right. So it's like, particularly if you like that window seat, there's this
Mm,
product our derms love called Heliocare, that is just an herbal supplement. and it's made from the polypodium plant. They find it boosts the body's immune system to resist sun damage. So it's kind of like an oral sunscreen, if you will, but
Interesting.
but you still wear it on the outside,
Okay.
right? But, like, your kids are in sports. When they're out there, have
Yeah.
them take a Helia Care that day, put on the sunscreen, go out and play, and it's a double protection. Those are the things that we reach out to educate, because the thing is, Claire did not wanna be inside. She wasn't gonna cut out anything.
Yeah.
Look fashionable in UPF 50. Doesn't look like you're going on safari all the time, I swear. Sunscreen, be cute, do all the stuff you gotta do, be active, be
Yeah.
engaged, go as we say, live life like Claire, be active, go enjoy it. Just it's like if you wear a seatbelt when you're driving in a car.
Mhm.
It's only in case.
Just do it.
Just do it, make it easy,
Yeah.
and, just celebrate those in our life for as long as we have them. I know you've had great loss in your life as I have, and it's like, just know they're always there with us.
Mhm.
That love doesn't go away. Um, I think she likes it when I talk about her, you know? And let other people mourn as they mourn. My daughter Hillary has one way of doing it. Rocky has another way of doing
Mhm.
it. We all have different way. Her grandparents all have different ways, you
And
know?
grief has no timeline. It
Oh my
pops up
gosh.
when we least expect it,
When
even
you
all these years later.
when you least expect it, a
Mhm.
song, a thought, a
Yeah.
memory comes in,
Yeah.
you know?
What are you doing these days to find your joy? Because I don't think there's a greater pain than for a parent to lose a child.
Yeah, I think I mentioned this to you when we were talking the other day, and I've written this that I found okay, we have a word for widow, widower, orphans.
Mhm.
There's no word for a parent that's lost a child because I don't think our brain can wrap around the possibility.
Mm.
You just can't put it in words. And
Wow.
people recoiled from us when we lost her because we were their worst nightmare.
Mm.
And we would find friends from people that we didn't know before. You know, it's an interesting world and everything changes. And
Yeah.
so my happiness, um, I I'm strengthened by Claire because no matter what was going on in her day, she found something to be thankful for and something to laugh about, you know? And
Gratitude is
gratitude
the key to
huge. That's one thing we've done in
everything.
our podcast too, coming up in a few episodes. It's like it physiologically helps your body heal. And, memories are gratitude. And they say there's this great thing you can write a letter to someone. And if they're still like an elder parent, I love this, that you can read it to them and say, because what else are you going to give, a 90-year
Mhm.
parent, right?
Yeah, right.
But just simply say, I am have such gratitude for this and that and what you did. And just tell them to their face the most, because it's contagious. It makes them feel better and it makes you feel better. I love talking with, a lot of Claire's friends right now are going through, most of her besties have gotten engaged in the last few months. And sure, there's this sadness that Claire won't have that engagement.
Mhm.
But I just know she would be having so much fun with them, and I'm sure she's gonna
Mm.
sprinkle Clara magic in. I just
Of
believe
course. And when
and
you're with them, don't you
and I see
find
their energy, and they just reach out. They call me on Mother's Day, they check
Oh,
in, so I have that gift back.
yeah.
The biggest gift is my 2 little grandsons who, I wish they lived closer, they're in Florida, but they, have
Hmm.
oh, goodness, so,
They are cute. I've seen the pictures. Oh my gosh.
Graham is 5 now, and Beau is 18 months, and 2 boys. After raising 2 girls, I'm learning Legos, and I'm learning all sorts of energy levels.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
I
yeah.
don't get to see them often enough, but they're just my heart, just my joy. And of course, watching Hillary go forward with her life
Mm,
and become, the professional she is and the mother she is and
mm.
wife she is and just I always said, just you guys go have great adventures, just let me come visit you and come along the way and all
Yeah.
that. And I love when I can travel and just, to meet people. I mean, I don't know. I
It's a
think
choice. It's
it's
a
a choice.
choice.
It's a choice, and I think you have to look at life as chapters,
Mhm.
and if one chapter goes on too long, it loses its value and its interest,
Mm,
and,
that's
you know
profound. Can
yeah,
you
well,
say that again?
I think if a chapter goes on too long, it loses its value and its interest to those around, and you need
Mm,
to move on to the next chapter,
I
you
love
know?
that.
And it's like I heard, Jane Fonda say this, which I'm kinda grasping because now that I'm at a certain age, I said I'm experienced. Um, that that it's your 3rd act, and when you think about it in terms of theatrical world, the 3rd act is when a play comes full circle. When all the experiences and everything that's happened earlier on come together, the
Mm,
pieces of the puzzle all fit together, and it comes to a great and memorable ending.
yeah.
So that's what I'm trying to do is just go forward, with everyone I've loved, everyone I still love, go forward and, put new energy, meet old friends, reconnect.
Yes, yes. Thank you so very much for joining me for this heartfelt conversation with Marianne Banister. Her courage and dedication to protecting your families through the Claire Marie Foundation is a beautiful reminder of how love can create lasting impact, even through unimaginable loss. If Marianne's journey inspired you, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and join the I Choose Happy Facebook group to continue the conversation. I'm Marilyn Byrne. We'll see you next week on I Choose Happy, presented by The Comfy.